And welcome back to the Angels OOTP series. We are getting ready to dive into the offseason here. You can see our budget this season is projected to be, or we will have exactly 248 million, which is, I believe, from up from last year, but we're projected to go back down to 2025's budget for next season. This is problematic. I would say we have quite the money on the books. I would say for sure. Trout, obviously, Cease, Woodruff, Canning. Uh, Probably not going to be able to bring back McKenzie with that. I will say, I'm pretty sure this takes into account the 20 million that Suzuki is projected to get, but we do not plan on bringing him back because I just don't think he's worth the 20 million. So we're probably going to try to trade him. Like if he, with this profile, I would be like, hey man, we'll bring you back at like less than that, but he's not going to take less than that is the thing. At least I don't think. Absolutely not. Yeah, no chance. No chance. So we're going to try to trade him essentially while he still has arbitration, 1 year arbitration left. And yeah, that's the plan with him. But the budget issue, definitely not the greatest thing right now because I do like to make sure we have the player development at 20 and then the scouting usually around 15. Apparently we're over, but what? What do you mean we're over budget? We're not over budget. We're What do you mean we're over? We're not over budget. Okay, I don't know why that says we're over budget, but we will definitely not be over budget once we get rid of. Like, I'm curious if I just go in here and like withdraw that 20 million, does that immediately go into this? No. So I guess that doesn't count these arbitrations. Okay, that's not ideal. That's not ideal. All right, we're in budget hell. We're in budget hell. We can figure it out. You know, that's what happens when you pay two pitchers to multi-year deals to try to improve the pitching. This is why I tend not to go after the guys in free agency, but we needed it. We won a bunch of games. Obviously, we got first rounded, but you know, now we're in a bit of a budget restraint here. Budget is tight. I will say though, just taking a quick look at this, obviously guys like Adell, we're going to want to bring back. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to try to sign him for a little bit less than that, which is what I usually try to do. Probably not, because I mean, if we drop this down, what is he projected? 6.5. If we go like this, that's yeah, 1.6 left. What does it say we have right now? Okay, so maybe it is. Maybe we, okay, interesting. And I will say, just looking at these arbitrations right here, a lot of these guys are relievers, and like I've been saying, I get pretty cutthroat with the relievers. Like if a guy like Jose Soriano here wants 2.6 million, you do have 2 option years. You have been really good. Do we really want to pay a reliever 2.6 million? Probably not. We definitely want to pay a reliever 4.2 million when they're almost 33. And obviously, Garrett Clevenger has been great for us, but I don't think a reliever is worth that much. We're trying to save some money here, open up some budget, and that is the easiest way to do it. Try to trade guys like Clevenger for guys who are on like league minimum type deals. And Clevenger should have a little bit of trade value here as a 60 overall, 60 potential, 60 overall because he is 32. Doesn't really matter what his potential is when he's that old, but he should have some trade value. So we are going to try to probably trade Clevenger. Probably keep Cole Reagans, honestly, since he's only 1.5. Silseth, probably same deal with him, even though he is going to miss the whole season. And we just want to keep him in our organization, obviously. Jose Soriano, 2.6 is probably like the cutoff of where I'm probably not willing to bring him back or bring him back. Like it's very on the fringe, I would say. So maybe we keep him, maybe we don't. Gabe Spire is probably somebody we try to trade, who we got off waivers last year. He's just, you know, he's a lefty, obviously very good, but we are trying to open up space, and he's just kind of like a lefty who's been tossed around on waivers. And I mean, the Mariners, they have. Remember, we went over this when we claimed him. The Mariners, they waived him. Oakland claimed him, and then Oakland traded him back to the Mariners for like a decent prospect, like Michael Arroyo here. This guy is useful. They also got, and of course it brings it back to this page, they also got this guy who's in the Oakland bullpen and hasn't really pitched much in Oakland, but still, another useful player. They get two useful players out of Gabe Spire. That's something we're going to try to do as well. And then, like, Riley Adams, we're not going to bring back. Josh Smith, we're not going to bring back. Neto, Duran, and Adell are all position players that we want to bring back, obviously. Neto wants this big extension. Jesus. That is a huge extension. I don't know. We might do that. We might not. What was his defense this year? Okay. So he was a really good defender this year. That's why his WAR jumped so much. I mean, it's about time. It's about time you can show that you're actually a good defender. I mean, the smart thing is definitely to re-sign him now. Now that, well, I mean, now we're not really saving money on signing him, but I mean, we probably should re-sign him. I'd definitely tinker with this a bunch. We would not be offering him until his age 36 season, I don't think. Probably something more like, maybe like 7 years here. Maybe even 6 years. Probably like 7, I would say. And then we would tinker with the money quite a bit, but we'll mess with that off camera and come back to it. And then we also have Jarren Duran, who we got for free off waivers last year. We liked what he gave us. He was very good against righties and then very bad against lefties. So total platoon player, but he is definitely a solid player to have. He was not good in center field, I don't think. Yeah, no. In the 12, 18 games, 12 starts, he played in center. He wasn't great, but he is a very solid left fielder with the 65 range. I mean, 65 range can play in center field a little bit, but you definitely don't want him starting there. The only reason he was playing there for us was because Mike Trout was hurt. But, yeah, Duran, Adell, and Neto. Duran and Adell, we're probably just going to, like, try to offer a little bit less than ARB. Neto is the one that we would probably want to extend, I would say. Yeah. And then as far as the guys we have who could get QOs, like Jake Cave is obviously not going to get a QO. He served his part. He did what we expected from him. Brusdar Graterol is expected to get $13 million. We will not be QOing him. He's just going to be walking into free agency. He did his thing in our 2 years that we had him. He was very good last year. And then Tristan McKenzie is going to want $12 million, which we can't afford. I would like to bring back McKenzie, but we can't afford him. That's the thing. So we'll have to do some major moving around some money if we're to bring him back. But I mean, we have we're gonna have like 4 guys in place. Really, it's gonna be like Woodruff, Cease, McKenzie. Or no, McKenzie's out, so it's like Woodruff, Cease, Detmers, and Canning. Let's bring these guys off of the roster, or off of the IL here, just to give us a baseline of what we're looking at for our staff. So yeah, it's like Woodruff, Cease, Detmers, Canning is like a legitimate 4 we have here. And then 5 could be like Hayden Birdsong in the 5th spot. Let's throw him on a scouting report. Birdsong could be the 5. I'm totally fine with that. We've wanted him to be the 5 for multiple seasons now. Even somebody like Cole Reagans could possibly move into the rotation at some point. We still do have Liberatore in the system. KY Teng, probably not somebody I want to start. More reliever, but he is expecting to start, so he's somebody who could possibly be a fifth arm in the rotation. We've got some options. We got Silseth even up once again. He's gonna miss the whole year, so he's not an option. Never mind. But yeah, we got some options. It's not the end of the world if we don't have Tristan McKenzie as our 5th starter, really. So if we're gonna save money anywhere, it's gonna be. I mean, it's not really saving money because he's just coming off the books, and we're not signing him back, really. But you know what I mean. I'm good with this being our 4 starters, and then a 5th spot just being some young guy that we have in the system, or just some like AAA player, not too young. Like Cole Reagans is almost 29, Birdsong is 25, KY Tang is almost 28. You know, not too young, but you know what I mean. More of a guy who has not proven it quite yet. So this is not ideal. Nobody wants Seiya Suzuki. We just shopped him for prospects and regulars. No offers. I guess he somehow tanked his trade value that much to where people don't want to trade for him that much. I mean, he puts up the 3 WAR in the first 2 seasons of the sim, and then last year was just not good between. He was league average between us and the D-backs. Just not what you want, really. But let's see if we throw veterans on here. What would come back if we throw veterans? Not a lot. Yeah, we might be just moving on from Seiya Suzuki. He might be non-tendered here. Because it's like, we could bring him back and be over budget, but I don't want to do that because we need our scouting and we need our player development. We need that stuff to be not slashed in half. So, he might be a non-tender here. I get, like, we can't even, like, really retain, can we? No. I'm just curious if I retained what would come back. Still, nobody even wants me even if we retain half of it. Yeah. Not great. So I'm over here searching for trades for Garrett Clevenger. And I'm not thinking about trading for this, but I just saw that Mickey Moniak was on here. And I was like, oh, how's he been doing with the Boston? And not great. Barely played for them last year, was in AAA, and after in 2025, had a -2 WAR. Just incredible. And he's also playing center field, just constantly costing the team, apparently, them in AAA. Not ideal for Mickey Moniak. I also noticed that they traded for Colton Cowser like we were thinking about doing, and he has not panned out. Baltimore was just not playing him, and he just is a AAA guy at this point. He did not play well in the big leagues in his limited time, but he's almost 27, and he also hasn't figured it out. So at least I know that, you know, maybe it would have been different if we traded for him, but at least I know that we didn't like lose out on like a big bat by not trading for Colton Cowser. That one offseason we were thinking about doing it. So as far as the best offers here for Garrett Clevenger that I'm seeing in shop trades, the best one I'm seeing for a pitcher would be Connor Phillips here, who is a 25-year-old, still on league minimum here with the Dodgers. He is not yet arbitration eligible. Big stuff. 3 big pitch mix here, fastball, slider, curveball. Great personality. He's got the holy duo. He could even start. He could even start for you. This would definitely drop down to like a 45 if he was a starter, but he could definitely prove that he was a 50 starter if he pitched well. And he was really good in limited time in the bullpen for them. They traded for him from Cincinnati, and he was kind of getting gypped in the ERA, had a decent FIP, and then he had a really bad 2025 with them. But, I mean, these ratings definitely play, and it would be a big swap there where we get Clevenger off and then we get a guy who's basically, you know, maybe not as good as Clevenger, but he has the stuff to be as good as Clevenger in the pen, possibly even like a starting option for us. We could probably try to squeeze something else out of them as well, but you can also see I have a scouting task on him here. I also noticed that there was a couple like bats that that are offering. This guy's just a DH who I'm not really interested in. Maybe I should be, but maybe. He did hit 30 home runs for KC, but he's just a DH is the thing. He's just purely a DH, not something I'm really interested in. There is somebody like Will Taylor, though, who interests me because he is an outfielder who seems like he could be solid, 50 potential. This is like, he's looking like Mauricio right now, though. This is a very similar profile to Mauricio who we have, who has not really panned out for us. Still has the 50 potential Mauricio does. But this is interesting because we have Nelson Rada coming up, who can slot into a outfield spot. And the thing I'm looking at is that Joe Adell, coming off a 3 WAR season, the best season he's had for us. He was injured, or he was injured, and he was starting in the minors in 2024. He was like league average-ish in 2025, and then he's coming off his best season in the big leagues of his career. I believe so. Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Best season of his career. He's 28, 27. He's almost 28. And you can see here, this upcoming year is the last year of his arbitration. We're a bit of a money situation. If we're going to re-sign any of these guys, it's probably going to be Neto. So I'm thinking Adell, coming off the best season of his career, we could probably sell high on him and get him off the books. And we have somebody like Nelson Rada who could come in and play for us in the corners. I'd probably play him in, ideally, him and Duran both have pretty bad arms. But I would be fine with having one of them in left, one of them in right. And then maybe we pick up a, where are we going? Go back. I know I can just go to the thing, but I'm committed to just hitting the back tab now. We could pick up somebody like Will Taylor to add to the mix, because we don't really, or I guess we do have an outfielders we can add to the mix with somebody like, in the lineups here, somebody like Calabrese could be in the mix here for us, to be like that fourth outfielder possible for us. Somebody like Jordan Adams is still a possibility as well. Cannon Smith and Jigba is an option to have as like a backup corner outfielder. But there is somebody like Will Taylor out there who we can get for Clevenger, who is on my mind. 23 on league minimum. Definitely an option for us. I believe there was a couple other outfielders. Yeah, like Kevin Alcantara, who is on league minimum. Looks like he could be a really solid bat with 55 power he could tap into still. 55 I, and a BABIP that still has 10 room for growth here. He could get that up to 60, and he is a very solid outfielder, and he could be a very solid right fielder with that 60 arm. I prefer to have guys with big arms in right field, if I can help it. You can see here, hasn't really played in the big leagues, barely, and then last year he was raking in AA and in AAA. This is definitely an interesting option as well. I might be pulling a trigger on something like this. We'll be thinking about it. So like Alcantara is probably the outfielder I prefer over Will Taylor if we go the outfield route, because I think I am going to trade Adell. Before I pull the trigger on anything though, I am going to shop Adell and see what we can get for him. And then there's also like Rodolfo Nolasco, who is big power, going to strike out a lot, not going to get any doubles though. And I'm kind of trying to get away from having a lot of guys like that who don't have the gap power to go with their power. And he also just hasn't really performed. Or I guess he's performed in like the lower minors, but he hasn't performed in the upper minors, and neither in the big leagues. So not really interested in him. I'd prefer Alcantara over Nolasco. There's also like Mason Barnett, who's a decent arm, former Royals guy, now with the Padres. Good personality traits. You can see here he was pretty solid in limited time in the bullpen in the big leagues, as well as in the in 6 starts in AAA. But I'm thinking I'm leaning outfielder, honestly. Try to get some like positional value out of Garrett Clevenger here. And I believe, yeah, these guys are like expensive. We're not going to try to trade for Leody Taveras because it's not going to help our budget situation. Same with Ezekiel Duran. He's projected to make like $3.6 million in ARB. We also don't really need a second baseman or a third baseman, or yeah, we don't need any positions that he can play. And I believe that was it. So I think I'm leaning Alcantara when it comes to Clevenger here. We could definitely squeeze some other things out of them as well, like maybe even one of these guys or somebody who they have in their AAA for like getting some guys they don't have in their 40-man to come and help us in the bullpen now that we're going to be trading away a bunch of bullpen pieces. But Alcantara is definitely the favorite for who I'm thinking we're going to swap Clevenger for. And very interesting. It looks like Joe Adell has even more trade value, which does make sense. He is a 3.5 WAR outfielder, sub 30. Obviously, he's entering the last year of his team control. We're probably not going to re-sign him, and that is why we're trying to trade him here. Alek Thomas is interesting. But I think he has a couple years of team control. He wouldn't be like a total, or I guess he would because he'd be making less than Adell, because Adell is projected to make 6.5. Alec Thomas here is projected to make 2.6, as it seems. And he could probably play center field for us with this, because the thing is, he has the 65 range, the 70 error. He's barely even played for them, it seems. It seems like he's mainly been a AAA guy, or I guess maybe he was hurt. Okay, yeah, so last year he tore his calf muscle in June, strained his hamstring in 2025, fractured his wrist in 2024, but he still has normal injury proneness. Lefty bat, we're kind of lacking for lefty bats right now. In the starting lineup, that is. At least I feel like we are. Yeah, we only have 2, and then Mauricio. So Alec Thomas could be interesting. He could play center field. Only hit a 55 center field rating, but he's got 65 range, 70 error. And if we take a look at the lineups, Mike Trout has 65 range, 65 error, and his center field's down to a 60. And wasn't Thomas 55? 55, yeah. And he's obviously younger. That can get better as he plays there. And I like this bat. The avoid K being higher than the BABIP is kind of annoying, but that's definitely an interesting bat. He's an option, definitely, for sure. We'll keep an eye on him. A lot of green here from the Braves. Jared Kelenic is interesting, but I don't really think we want to do that. He wouldn't really be that much of a downgrade either, and he's also in his last year of arbitration, I believe that. Or no, he probably has like one more year. Probably has like 2 more years rather. This upcoming year and then 1 year after that. This Darius Vines guy they offered me for Clevenger, and I just didn't think he was that great, so he wasn't even somebody worth mentioning in my mind. These guys are not somebody like they're in league minimum, but how is Ian Anderson still in league minimum? I guess he's finally going into arbitration, but that just seems crazy to me that he's like only just now hitting ARB. That's crazy. But anyways, and then Brendan McKay, also not somebody who's really that interesting to me. Any other names here? We're definitely not doing Andrew Vaughn. Matt Mervis is a first baseman. Christopher Morel could be interesting, but he's also a guy who's just hitting ARB. Probably has like 2 more years of team control, maybe maybe 3. He could play all over the place, mainly in the outfield. Or I guess, yeah, he's like a decent third baseman, second baseman, corner outfield guy. Big power bat. He has very similar profile to Joe Adell. Yeah, absolutely. Joe Adell has a little bit better gap power, but everything else is exactly the same. And they are the exact same age, so I just don't think it's really that big of a that I guess Thomas is 26, so it kind of counts there too. But I don't know. Morel could be an option. I still think I'd like Alcantara though, as just a younger guy to have. Backup catcher. We don't need a catcher though. And then not Keston here. They have another first baseman here. Big bat. Pretty similar to Mauricio's thing though. MJ Melendez in Colorado. Interesting. Has not worked out for them. That's a bummer. Wenzel Perez. Probably not. Probably not. Yeah. No, we don't want him. Trey Cabbage, no. Xavier Edwards. I do like this quite a bit. The BABIP especially. We got the 70 contact, the 60 BABIP, the avoid K. Really good speed profile. Can walk a little bit too. Definitely more of like a second baseman, third baseman type than he is a shortstop. He can be a little bit of a better shortstop though. Looks like he could play some center field for us too. 60 range. He could play some outfield as well. Super utility guy though. Switch hitter. I do like that, but I don't know if I want to trade Adell for a guy like this. I'm gonna add him to my keep an eye list, which is my list of guys who I like around the league who I might want to trade for at some point. So we're gonna add him to that list. And then as far as other guys goes, yeah, Matt Wallner's not somebody I'm trying to go after. Edwards is just now hitting arbitration to 1.7. Oswald Peraza? No. Brandon Marsh? No. There's that Alasko guy again. No. Lars Nootbaar? Not interesting. Both of these Texas guys again. Interesting that where the Phillies offers. Interesting that the Phillies are not offering Alcantara for Adell, but they are for Clevenger. So I'm looking at Alex Thomas here. He actually has 3 more years of team control. So that is definitely more interesting than him having 2 more years, like I thought. I really like this profile. Like I said, I don't like the BABIP as much, being only 50, but I mean, the contact still is really solid. I think average baseball starter, I think that could be a really solid player for us. Throwback to our D-backs OOTP thing I had going for a bit as well. And the thing about trading Adell is that we are getting rid of 28 doubles and 28 home runs. He was a middle of the order big bat guy for us. So if we trade him and we pick up somebody like Alec Thomas, that is not going to replace the home runs, and it's probably not even going to replace the double. I mean, 55 gap power, it's probably not even going to replace the doubles. Maybe a little bit more. I mean, maybe he will. Maybe he will, honestly, because he has the contact. So maybe he'll just be putting doubles in play more often than Adell was. And the other thing about Thomas, what are his splits? Okay, very limited splits here against lefties, but he had a 91 WRC+, plus, so he's not, like, completely unplayable against lefties like Adell is. Yeah, this profile is still solid against lefties, so he is not just, like, a total 0 against lefties. That is good to know. And then if we compare Alcantara side by side with Thomas, I feel like Thomas is the better guy. He's got the better contact. The gap power is better. The home run's only 1 tick less. Obviously, Alcantara does have the potential to get his home run power up to 55, which is 10 points higher. But I don't know. I feel like the contact evens it out a bit. The gap power is only 50 for Alcantara. Alcantara is a solid defender in the corners. I mean, it's close, honestly. Maybe I'm overthinking it here, but I just feel like, especially since with Alcantara, you're getting the possibility of having that power bat to replace Adell, which is a big thing for us. I don't like that he's more of a lefty feaster than he is a righty feaster here. I don't like that really at all. That he can't really hit against righties right now, which is, the main thing you are going to be hitting against. Like, even Thomas as a lefty is better. Now, obviously, Alcantara does have the potential that is 45 out of 50, so he does have a little bit of room for improvement. I feel like I'd probably prefer the more proven guy. And then before we make any more trades, this is what we have right now in the player development lab. If we acquire somebody in the next 5 days who I'd rather have in rather than these 6 players, we will be canceling them, but I think we're going to roll with these 5 players here. So Nelson Rada, for like the 3rd offseason in a row, we are rocking in the player development lab. This time, we're going to be going for gap power. The power is not the greatest right now, but I think it's easier to it's more possible of a success to get him up for the gap power. So we're gonna go for gap power here. Maybe get a potential boost for that too. Get the potential to 55. Compare that with his good contact and his good eye. I think that could turn him into a really, really solid player, even more so than I already think he is. And then Randy DeJesus, we are going to go for gap power on him to try to combine it with this power that he's got going. We could, honestly, now that I'm looking at that, we're going to try to get that power up even more. So Randy DeJesus, where are you? Randy DeJesus, generate bat speed. So yeah, generate bat speed. We're going to try to get this power up. If we can hit 65 power on this guy, that's an interesting player, for sure. We're also going to want to get a scouting report on him to get that up to very high. Then we have Walbert Urania. Jose Urania, yeah. Walbert Urania. He is an interesting pitching prospect we have. Possible 3 really good pitch mix. Needs to get that changeup up a little bit more. He's got really solid movement, home run suppression. The stuff is only 45 right now, but can get up to 50. We are trying to get his control up because last year he walked 14% a guy, 14% walk rate, 13% walk rate. We want to cut this walk rate down. The 40 control is not going to cut it. That's really going to limit him to being a starter and push him more to the bullpen. So we are trying to improve that control of his rather than trying to like up his velocity or something like that, or like improve his pitch, his like secondary pitch or something like that. We could, but we're just going to go with improving control here for Walbert Urania. Nolan Shanuel, we're going to try to tap into this 70i here. We want that. We want this OBP up to what it was the last year. We want this walk percentage up to what it was last year. We want this 70i. It's there for the taking. We're going for it. Kyron Paris, similar thing. We want this 70i. We want that OBP to be shooting up. We don't want these 318 OBPs. We want him walking even more than this. If he can get that with the BABIP going, I feel like he's going to be much more of a better offensive player. And yeah, that's what we're going for here with Kyron Paris. And then Ronnie Mauricio, we're trying to get this gap power up because we want that to go with the 50 power and maybe make him more useful. Right now, the plan still is for him to be the first baseman next season because we don't have room for him at second or third, and DH would be Shanuel. So Mauricio, please get that gap power up. I'm begging you. And then we also went over Randy DeJesus. So these are the 6 guys we are rocking with in the player development lab here to start the 2026 into 2027 offseason. We also just did a couple scouting reports we have on guys. Calabrese here, 70 range. That's very interesting to see, especially since Mike Trout's starting to regress in center field. We also, Hayden Birdsong here, we got him, and he's pretty much the same. Bunch of green, bunch of light blue. Love to see it. Right now, he's projected to be our 5th starter. We will see if that holds, and if he doesn't get hurt again, hopefully not. And also, Calabrese here getting the 70 range on the most recent scouting update with this bat, which is already better of a bat than what I was just looking at with the Arizona trade. So we offered Arizona being like, hey, we'll give you Adell, give us Alec Thomas, and maybe throw in Drew Jones, who's got a 75 range. Never going to really be a great bat. He's been in AAA last season. He was fine. I was like, hey, we're going to need a center fielder at some point. Calabrese, when I offered this, was a 65 range. I don't think Jordan Adams is really somebody I want to start in center field. So maybe Drew Jones is somebody we could play in center field eventually. But then, now that Calabrese's got the 70, obviously this is still better than Calabrese. He's got the 70 center field. Calabrese has a 60 center field, so still solid. They're both 45 potential. But the thing is, Drew Jones has a much worse bat than Calabrese, even with what they think Drew Jones' potential bat is. Still better than, or still worse than Calabrese. So I think we're fine with Calabrese, and I don't think we're going to do this Drew Jones thing. And also, they would either want Kyron Paris, David Calabrese himself, or Ben Joyce. And now I wouldn't mind giving up Ben Joyce, but the fact that he's a guy who comes up and offers like this makes me think that I should trade Ben Joyce himself, because extreme fly ball, he just hasn't worked out. Now, we haven't had him in double A trying to like avoid the triple A destruction, but he has been good in triple A, even with and it makes me think that he can be good, because he's an extreme fly ball guy going down to Salt Lake and just shoving, essentially. Not shoving, but he's got 2 WAR here, 1.2 WAR there, 184 WRC or WRC plus, ERA plus, and just every time he comes up to the majors, like he was bad in 2024, he was meh in 2025, and then he was just straight up bad last year. And it's just like he's on his last year of league minimum. I don't usually like the extreme fly balls, but the fact that he is doing this in AAA in the PCL, and the fact that he's Ben Joyce and he's sick as hell and he throws 104, why would you not want to make the guy work? But I mean, we are going to be losing out on some bullpen guys this year, obviously, with trading guys. Like right now, he's projected to be a part of the bullpen. These are the guys that we're going to be hanging on to, I'm thinking. He would be a key member of this. So he would probably end up being like the setup guy, honestly. So or maybe Soriano would, because Soriano's proven that he's like a legit major league arm. I don't know. We'd have to see. But anyways, I don't think we should trade Ben Joyce, but he is an option if he comes up in the right deal. But we are going to keep workshopping the Adell and Clevenger and Spire deals. Interesting. Gabe Spire actually has no interest. I just shopped him and nothing came up. That's odd to me. He was very good in the bullpen, and Oakland was able to trade him after he put up similar numbers, but he was even better for us than he was with Oakland in a bigger sample size, and Seattle gave them a legit prospect. So I don't know what the deal is here. Was it just simply he was younger? Was it simply that maybe he wasn't on arbitration then? I think he still was. Another thing I'm thinking with the potential Joe Adell trade is that if we rock something like this in the outfield, like if we have the 5 bench bats again, and we have like Rada, who's a lefty, and Calabrese, who is also a lefty, then it's going to be interesting if we pick up like Alek Thomas, who's the favorite for this deal right now. And then we also have Duran, who's a lefty. We're losing a righty bat in Adell. We're also losing the power and picking up more of a contact bat in Thomas. And then neither of these guys are power bats. It's gonna be interesting. But I think this is a move we need to make by getting rid of Adell, because we're not going to bring him back next year. Or after next year, we might as well just try to get value for him coming off this career high season, sell high, and hope that he's not going to kill us by being like a generational player from this point out. It's just we need to be smart about who we're acquiring, because we don't want to like overload the team with lefties. Now, acquiring another lefty bat for the lineup here would not be the end of the world. We could use another lefty bat for the lineup here. It would just be our bench outfielders would also be lefties, which I guess wouldn't be the end of the world, but we'll have to see. So we just got back our scouting report on Randy DeJesus here, and good news, we were thinking about putting him in the development lab for gap power to get it from 45 to 50. Turns out he's already got 50 gap power, according to my scout now, and he's got 50 out of 55 I, so makes my decision to get the power up even more. I think even smarter here. High work ethic, intelligence. I'm liking the possibility here that Randy DeJesus is possibly a dude for us here in the future. I believe that we have found the offer that we are going to take for Joe Adell. It is not Alek Thomas. The main piece in the deal is Alan Cerda. Boom! Look at this. We're trying to replace power. Let's replace some power, baby. And this guy's only got 2 years of Major League service. He's not even arbitration eligible yet. He'll be playing on the minimum. Easily can slide into a right field spot for us. Last year had a 3 ZR in left field. He can play right field. Obviously not going to play center for us because we're not stupid. But easily can be a right fielder for us. Going to replace the power and the gap power for Joe Adell. I think this is even higher gap power than Adell has. It is indeed, and he has better eye. He's going to strike out a little bit more. He's not going to hit as many singles, but we're not looking for that. We want a guy who can be a big bopper for us. Alan Serta is indeed that. A little bit older, 27. He's basically like the same age as Adell, like a year younger than Adell, but less service time. He's got this huge bat we're looking for. I think he is a legit piece into our order here. So Alan Serta is the main piece. We're also picking up Jamie Melendez here, who's an interesting, like, super stuff guy they have down in AAA here in Charlotte. 70 stuff, really good movement too at the 55. Great fastball, great slider, great curveball, elite changeup. Really good stamina too. Could start if you really wanted him to, but the control is really what limits him. He's a bullpen arm. That's fine. That's what we were trading for him to be, is a bullpen arm. So Jamie Melendez, also 5'8". You don't see too many pitchers with big stuff like this who are 5'8". But anyways, Jamie Melendez from Mexico is the other piece we're getting. We're also getting Samuel Zavala, who is another outfield interesting piece. Good eye, gap power, a little bit below average power, but it looks like he could have some decent contact and BABIP to go along with the gap power and the eye. And for whatever reason, they've just had him bouncing around an A-ball, just putting up ridiculous WAR numbers, like a 206 WRC plus and a 7.3 WAR for whatever reason. Playing some really good center field, obviously an A-ball, but still. And now they finally have him up in AAA now that we're in the offseason. But he is somebody we have to put in the Rule 5, or we put out in the 40-man, but we're fine with that. And he's another guy we could have in our interesting mix here as we try to get younger and have some guys who can be productive for us. Samuel Zavala is that vein, so we're going to add him to the trade. And then also Adam Hackenberg, yes, Christian Hackenberg's brother, is possibly going to be our backup catcher this year. He could be our starter in AAA. He could be our backup in the big leagues. It just depends. At the very least, he's going to be on our 40-man and a part of our plans here for the next couple seasons. He has not made the big leagues yet, so he has all three options, and we just have to add him to the 40-man because he is Rule 5 eligible. But Adam Hackenberg is going to be in the deal as well. And then we are giving them the main piece is Junior Marino here, who is this interesting, like, former pitcher who could develop this power and eye, but I mean, I don't really know if I want to do it. And then the thing is, he developed this for my Royals, but he just never put together years. He had like insane power and eye, but he just never performed. He would go to AAA and be like, I got a 280 WRC plus through 3 months, like some absurd shit like that. And then you'd call him up to the big leagues, and he's just like, oh my God, it's major league pitching. And he just, fall, mess up, not his thing. So Junior Marino, we're going to send him to the White Sox. And then we're also just adding in these guys as kind of just a little bit better than throw-ins, but they are player. This guy's definitely just a throw-in, but these two are interesting enough prospects, but like, he okay-ish bat, not really a good enough glove to look over the fact that his bat's never going to be anything. Juan Fierro could be a decent bat, not a great catcher, though, so it's kind of like, if you want a bat like this, ideally you're a better catcher than this. So Juan Fierro, he's the guy we're going to move on from as well. I believe he was like a really cheap international free agent that we signed. Yeah, $100,000. Very cheap. So that's the package. Joe Adell and these guys for Alan Serta, and these guys who are all immediate helpers as opposed to these guys who are all like super far away. And then this guy is just literally just like a high work ethic guy I signed to have in the Dominican complex, but the Arizona complex apparently. But anyways, he's just the high work ethic guy I signed. He's not gonna be anybody. He's just a throw-in. And yeah, that's the deal. We're gonna pull the trigger. Alan Serta is going to be a Los Angeles Angel. All right, so we are indeed going ahead and extending Zach Neto here. We're going to sign him to a 7-year deal. The last 2 years are team options. They have a hefty bit of a buyout here, but we have knocked him down a bit on his price by like 4-ish million, something like that. We also dropped down this first year. He had this first year up to like 8 million, I believe. And his arbitration this year is projected to be like 6.6. So I was like, we're saving on ARB this year. we're dropping down the price a little bit. You know, just come and take the hometown discount, even though I don't think you're from California, Zach Neto. But 7 years, it'll sign him through his age 32 season. We're buying out 4 years of free agency here, 2 years of free agency guaranteed, and then 2 extras possible. Although if we do buy him out of these last 2 years, it's going to be a bit of a hefty buyout at $6 million. But we are going ahead and extending Zach Neto, who, as we know, has just been a stud second baseman for us. 4 WAR last year, finally settling into being a good defensive second baseman. And he's a heart of the order guy. So Zach Neto, welcome to the team for the future. We also went ahead and opened up some more budget here. Luckily, some came off the books when we traded Adell, and then also I noticed that a recommended draft slot is only $6 million this year because we have the 28th pick. So, you know, we're probably not going to need 15 million in the budget there for the draft. So we dropped it down to 8 just to be a little bit safe from their recommended. And yeah, I think this should be bumped up a little bit though. We'll leave it where it is right now, but we will or no, we'll bump that up a little bit. It's barely anything. We'll put that on the max. And we'll have it at that. And the budget is still looking better than it was. We just want to make sure that our scouting is not getting slashed in half. We don't want that to happen. So, the budget looking better than it was. All right, so we have gone ahead and made a couple other trades here. The first one was a bit of a minor one. We sent Charles LeBlanc to the San Diego Padres. It's just sort of like a minor for minor deal. He's 30. You know, it was a good story when he was good for us in limited sample size in 2024. It was fun, but he's, you know, decent ratings, but he's 30. He's a ground ball hitter. I feel like we could get somebody more useful out of him, maybe somebody younger. So we went and did that, and we picked up a couple pitching prospects. We also added in this guy just to throw in to get the deal done. Jackson Ferris, former second round pick from the Cubs, out of IMG Academy. Very nasty. He was in the Dylan Cease trade, apparently. That's how, traded by the Dodgers to the Padres for Dylan Cease. So that was just straight up for... So now we have both. We have Dylan Cease and we have Jackson Ferris. And they were traded for each other at one point. But anyways, you can see here, he was the number 83 prospect last year. Kind of fell off prospect lists for some reason here. He's only a 40 potential right now, but this profile I feel like is good. He's got a bunch of growth potential here with his pitches. They're already solid, and he has a bunch of growth potential to get them all to be like really good. He's got decent movement. His stuff's got 10 growth potential up to 55. He's got really good stamina. For whatever reason, they had him in high A last year. But he was dicing it up, 3 WAR in a high A. We'll probably have him in double A, but he is a guy we're going to have to throw on the 40-man because he is Rule 5 eligible. We will get into all of that once we get to the free agency portion of it and some more spots open up on our roster here. But yeah, Jackson Ferris, we've acquired him as the main piece in that trade. And then the other one, who is not a slouch himself, Grant Taylor, a leader, high work ethic guy, throws pretty hard, 95, 97. Another interesting guy where control can get up to 45, decent movement, like league average movement with a little bit of a potential to move this up to a 50. Stuff could be 60. He's got a really good 4-pitch mix. Fastball and cutter are already really good. The curveball and the slider are both pretty solid already as well, but they do have some growth potential. He was not as good in the minors last year, but still, I like this guy's profile. Another LSU guy. We're just stocking up on LSU guys, apparently. When was he? 2023 second-round pick for the White Sox. So, yeah, the name sounded familiar, and that does make sense because I definitely got into college baseball before 2023, probably 2022, 2021, something like that. But, yeah, Grant Taylor, definitely a name that I recognize. So now we have Grant Taylor and Jackson Ferris in our system here. as their prospect status have diminished a bit, but I still think they are definitely potential arms here. They could even start for us at the back end of the bullpen eventually, or be in the bullpen for us, or back end of a rotation and be in the bullpen for us, possibly even this season, depending on what happens. Grant Taylor, though, is not Rule 5 eligible, so we don't have to rush him onto the 40-man. He can just be in Double A this year, working on his stuff, shoving, avoiding the Salt Lake barrage of the high run environment PCL. And then we also went and traded Garrett Clevenger. You know, he did his thing for us for 3 seasons. He was pretty solid, but, 60 overall is obviously very solid reliever. He's got 80 stuff. He's got the 80 grade slider, the 75 grade fastball. He is 32, though. He was projected to make like $4 million in arbitration. So just to try to get out from under that here, as we're being cutthroat with relievers, as I do, we trade him to the Dodgers, and in return, we get Connor Phillips. I tried to squeeze some other stuff out of them, but I'm fine with this. Connor Phillips is basically just like a right-handed, little bit lesser version of Garrett Clevenger, but he's obviously way younger, 25 years old, still on the league minimum. He could possibly even start for us. His expectation is to start. If you move him to a starter, it doesn't even tick down that much. The stuff going goes to 65. The movement's still 55. The fastball, curveball, slider comp. Their trio here is really good with the decent changeup to mix it up as well. 45 stamina is plenty to start. Control, not the most ideal, but 45 is fine. He's going to walk a little bit of guys, but he's not going to be like, Dylan Cease out there. And we got Dylan Cease in the rotation. He's walking a bunch of guys too. So Connor Phillips, possible starter. We might still go with Birdsong as the 5th guy and have Phillips as a stopper with Sam Bachman is the plan right now, to have double stopper with him and Bachman. But it's definitely possible that this guy could be a starter for us. But right now, he is listed as a reliever. You can see he was really good in limited time with the Dodgers last year. In limited or pretty good time with the Cincinnati Reds in 2026, and he was just bad in 2025. Or I guess he got traded to the Dodgers. Interesting. Yeah, he got traded to the Dodgers in, I guess, halfway through last year. Yeah, like at the deadline. They also got Rhett Lauder in that deal, who was a guy who I did try to squeeze from them. I did not realize they came together. But, yeah, and then Dalton Rushing. Very interesting player for the Reds was who went back to them. Very interesting. Would love to have a guy like this. Is similar to Alan Serta's profile. He just has a little bit more contact potential, really. And Serta has more power. But anyways, so we get Connor Phillips as the main piece. Tried to squeeze some more out of him, but we just get Connor Phillips as the only thing coming back. We just had to throw on this guy to make it work. I wasn't, this guy could maybe be something as like a back end, not back end, but like a mop-up reliever sort of guy. He was really good in high A last year, but I don't envision him being great anywhere, really. If we get burned on this guy, so be it, but I don't think he's going to be anything. So I was not gonna like lose any sleep over giving up this guy. And the other guys they wanted were like useful minor leaguers and stuff, or like super young guys that I didn't want to like just give up on, who I thought could maybe be useful, at the very least play some really good defense in the minor leagues, because we don't want our pitchers pitching with a bunch of shit defenders behind them. And then as far as our arbitration is looking right now, we have Gabe Spire, Riley Adams, Josh Smith, and Seiya Suzuki. Looking like they're all just going to be non-tendered here. Very unfortunate on Spire and Suzuki's part, but they have no interest out there, and I have no interest in paying Suzuki $20 million. We also literally can't, because we want to be under budget. And then Gabe Spire, gonna suck to lose out. Could I pay him $3.4 million? Yeah. Is it really worth it? Not really in my mind. Maybe we bring him back in the offseason if he wants a little bit cheaper, but I highly doubt it. I like the arms we have in the bullpen. I trust my bullpen strategy here. I don't think he's really worth bringing it back at that price. So these are the guys who are getting non-tendered. I have thought about putting a QO on Gratterall or McKenzie, only one of them though. But the thing is, usually the baseline for if I give them the 18.9 is for Gratterall, for example, he would take 13 million for this first season. So I literally, first of all, and if we go to 1 year and I'm like, oh, let's just see if we can even give him, I can't, because if he accepts the QO, we're under budget right now. We're over budget, I should say. And I'm not trying to do that. So I think he would accept it purely because what he's asking for is less than the QO. Sort of same deal with McKenzie, where he wants a longer term deal. And sometimes guys who want longer term deals are like, oh, I don't want a 1 year deal, so I'm going to, decline the QO. But the fact that his first year is only 12 million, and then the rest of it is only like just barely above the QO makes me think that he would accept it. I'm gonna just be like, hey, if we offer you like 10 million for 1 year, would you accept that? He would not. Yeah, he would not accept that. What if I say like this for 1 year? He would not. He wants something bigger. I'm just not going to QO him because I cannot take the risk that if he accepts the QO, we're just suddenly screwed on budget. I cannot risk that, so these guys are not going to be QO'd. And then also, let's take a look at the league news here. Some of the awards, all the awards have been announced. The National League MVP, Jordan Walker, hit a ton of home runs, 55 home runs, led the league in WAR, WRC+, home run, RBI, runs, average, OBP, slugging, OPS. Insane season for Jordan Walker of the St. Louis Cardinals. And then Moises Ballesteros, is how you believe you say that, something along those lines, was the runner-up, the catcher for the Cubs. Our league is shifting to where it's definitely a lot more guys who are not currently in the bigs who are starting to make names, like this guy. I don't even know who this guy is. I'm sure people are aware of him if you're like real deep in the weeds of the prospects in real life, but I mean, in 2024, this guy was in high A. Maybe I should be aware of him, but the name does not sound familiar. It does not sound familiar. I mean, 99 prospect in MLB. Not a huge prospect guy, but he's getting MVP votes now as the Dodgers are just continuing to put together stuff. He is fragile, though, as a 23-year-old, so I would probably not be looking to keep that guy long term if I was them. But anyways, American League. Once again, Wyatt Langford wins the MVP. That is 3 straight MVPs for Wyatt Langford, 2024, 2025, 2026. The man's incredible. I mean, Jesus Christ. Wyatt Langford, and it hurts even more because we topped Jackson Holliday for his another runner-up. He's now the third, and Logan O'Hoppe is the number 2 guy on the American League MVP votes. Tough to see, but still love to see that Logan O'Hoppe is even getting MVP votes. As we will now move on to the National League Cy Young, Spencer Strider doing what he does. He's Spencer Strider, folks. The guy just absolutely tears it up. Fragile, not great to see for them, but still, Spencer Strider. Freddie Peralta even getting MVP votes is kind of crazy. Of course, he goes to Atlanta, and he's like an MVP. I guess they traded him. Interesting. So he was with Milwaukee, and then they dumped him to Atlanta. Not even an expiring deal. Or no, he was. Okay, he was an expiring deal, and they extended him. So Freddie Peralta being extended to stay in Atlanta. And back-to-back runner-up MVPs there. Or not back-to-back, but 1-2, both Atlanta Braves MVPs. And even Max Fried is getting votes down here. The American League's Cy Young, Pablo Lopez, the World Series champion, wins the MVP. He puts up a 4.9 WAR, league-leading FIP, and league-leading ERA. I mean, look at the amount of light blue and blue on here. This is just incredible. Ground ball pitcher. This is like pitcher heaven for me. A guy with this much blue, ground ball pitcher. Incredible stuff. Twins are lucky they got Pablo Lopez. Any interesting? Brandon Woodruff getting MVP votes. That's how good he was for us. Not towards the top, but he does get 2. And then the NL Manager of the Year is Carl Everett, who is the Atlanta Braves manager. The American League MVP is the American League manager is Rocco Baldelli. The Rookie of the Year of the National League is that catcher from the Dodgers we showed. The American League, Max Muncy, not the one you're thinking of. This is the shortstop, or I guess he's their third baseman. But a solid rookie campaign from him after making the jump directly from Double A. Nobody from our team on that list. The Silver Sluggers in the National League. You got that catcher from the Cubs. You got Ellie De La Cruz. You got Jackson Merrill. Nothing really too surprising here in the American League. You got Logan O'Hoppe, Silver Slugger for a catcher. That's now his second Silver Slugger, back-to-back at the catcher position. Jackson Holliday's on there. Junior Caminero for the Rays. Bobby Witt, Wyatt Langford, of course. Jason Dominguez, the Martians in there. And then Joe Adell did win Silver Slugger. Career year for him. We're banking on the fact that that's a career year, the best he's ever done. We're banking on the fact that he's more so this guy than he is this guy, and that's why we traded him, along with the fact that we're just not going to be able to extend him once his arbitration is up and he is entering the final year of team control. So, Joe Adell, stings to see him go, but still, we salute you for being a part of our first playoff team here in the Sim. And then we take a look at the reliever of the year in the National League is Andre Pallant of the St. Louis Cardinals. Solid year in the pen for him, 2.99 ERA plus, striking out a bunch of guys, or not even that big of a strikeout percentage, honestly. Just a solid reliever, extreme ground ball guy, big movement. Didn't walk too many guys, not quite Brusdar Graterol level control, but similar profile to Brusdar Graterol, who I'm bringing him up because he won the AL Reliever of the Year. Brusdar Graterol, incredible. We unlock his full potential as a reliever by putting him as the stopper for us this season, and he was just phenomenal doing that in the last year of team control. And once again, we salute you for being a part of our first playoff team here in Anaheim. As we move on from having Brusdar Graterol on the team, we will see how the rest of his career goes, as he is fragile. And then the Gold Gloves in the National League. Anything surprising here? Graham Pauley at first base for the Padres. Nico Horner, Brian Hayes, Garrett Mitchell. Nothing too surprising there. AL Gold Gloves. Trevino on the White Sox is their catcher. Incredible defensive catcher, obviously. Brian Ramos at first base gets Gold Glove despite not being a great bat. Interesting type of player to have at first base. Looking like our first base, where we got no bat at first base, but we got a guy there for his glove. Tommy Edman, Matt Chapman, Javi Baez that he hit this season. 2 WAR. A little bit better of a hitter than he was last year. Had some more home runs, but still not a hitter. Dylan Beavers in left field for the Orioles. That's interesting. The former Cal Berkeley Bear. Luis Robert in center field, and Denzel Clark of the A's in right field. Did he actually have good numbers? He did indeed. A 10 ZR. Dylan Beavers, 4 ZR. Not great, but you know. I mean, it's solid. It's good, but it's not like, it shouldn't be Gold Glove level. Like, what did Duran have? He had a 4 ZR in left field. What did Duran have in left field? Why can't Duran get it? Huh? What's the deal here? All right, we're here at free agency filings, and our budget is definitely much better than it was here before free agency. So that is good to see. We've actually got some spending room. We're definitely not going to be going all out like we were last year. It's not sustainable to be going all out every single season like that, but we're probably going to make a couple signings here. For the lineups for the case, I feel like everything is pretty set. Like I'm liking Westberg at third base. He proved that he belongs at third base after the season he had. Nick Gonzalez, I would be fine having him as the backup main infielder again. But backup infielder might be something we could look to add. We do have Edie's Leonard, who I still think is a decent backup bench guy. But really, if we were to get a backup bench infielder, backup bench, that's redundant. A bench infielder, I would be looking to get a guy who could play shortstop consistently. Somebody who could spot Paris there, because right now, we've been spotting Neto we've been having Neto just play short whenever Paris needs a rest, and it's basically making Neto not have a rest. So we don't really want to do that because Gonzalez can't play short. He hasn't played there because he can't really. I guess he technically can, but you don't want a guy with 55 range playing short really ever. So we just don't want him there. Also, possibly moving Mauricio to the bench as like a backup bench here, switch hitter bench guy. That's definitely something we might look into here because just getting another bat in the order is definitely going to help us because Mauricio, if he gets this gap power up through the player development that we have him rocking here in the offseason, that could be good. But I mean, it's first base. We need a better bat than like the 70-ish WRC plus he's giving us. And he's had 2 decent sample sizes here of seasons where he's just not performing. We definitely need to look at getting a first base. So just as a thing, we will put him as the backup first baseman and possible backup third baseman there and open that spot. And even if it's a guy who can't play first base, we can move Shanuel to first base and have that guy be our DH. That's definitely an option as well. I see Nick Gonzalez is only on high here, so let's get him on a scout. And as far as, okay, we also could possibly get another catcher here. Right now we're rocking this guy as a possible backup catcher who was in AA and high A last year. He's just kind of been chugging along in our system here. Interesting bat profile, and he can play a bunch of different positions, catcher, first, corner, outfield. He's not the best defensive catcher, but he's got a good enough blocking and framing to where I wouldn't mind having him be a backup catcher. So right now, our backup catcher situation is Adam Hackenberg, who we traded for, Christian Hackenberg's brother, and Alberto Rios here, former Stanford guy. Those are the options. So maybe we go out and get a different catcher. Maybe like we do a minor league deal thing like we had last year where we had Real Muto and Riley Adams then in AAA just waiting to come up if we needed them. But it's definitely an option that we could add another catcher here to our organization. But really first base or a DH bat is the main thing we're looking for with bats. And when it comes to pitching, I think our 1 to 5 is set, really. 1 to 4 is set, I should say, and then the 5th guy, it's either going to be Hayden Birdsong, give him his shot he finally deserves, or it will be like, we could even move Bachman to the rotation, or we could move Phillips to the rotation. I kind of want to see what we get with them with the stopper, and just have these guys, like these 3 guys here, just dominate the bullpen innings. I kind of want to see what we do with that. And just have Birdsong be the starter because we've been saying that Birdsong is going to be a starter for us for years, and he just keeps getting hurt. So I think I want to see what we have him. We're limiting him to only 2 times through the order, but I think that's what we're going to roll with here. And then the bullpen, since we're rocking this stopper thing now, we don't need too many like dudes. And we have Bachman, Phillips as dudes in the bullpen. Ben Joyce potentially is a dude. Kaiwei Tang or Soriano is good. He's a potential dude as well. He's been very solid for us. Kaiwei Tang, he's got solid ratings. I think he could be a solid player. We're going to get him updated on the scouting here. Cole Reagans is back. He's not like a dude. He's just kind of like a guy in the bullpen who does stuff. Fan favorite, leader. Always good to have another lefty as well. Liberatore, same deal with him, very similar to Reagan's, a little bit different of a profile, but still a similar type of guy to have in the bullpen. And then these guys, specialists listed, are guys who are just like, it's basically tiers of the bullpen. So it's like Bachman, Phillips, Joyce is how I have them sorted right now, where Joyce is the best of these guys. And then I guess we could throw like him on as the setup just to show that he is like the second tier of this, like the number 2 guy in this middle relief category, and then the specialists are guys who are kind of like on the outside looking in for jobs, because we're probably going to rock 7 relievers, and that is these dudes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boom. Liberatore could possibly be swapped out for one of these guys, but these guys are still sets hurt is the thing. And then Urania is probably more of a guy we want to see do more in the minors before we give him a chance, but he's on the 40-man to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. And then I also have not added, where is he? Jackson Ferris to the Rule 5 draft because he only has a 40 potential, and I feel like 40 potential guys don't get taken in the Rule 5. So we're probably going to leave him exposed, honestly. And he's just going to keep doing his thing down in the minors. I don't think we need to do that. The only guy who I feel like is probably going to might get taken is Palacios, who is also rehabbing a torn elbow ligament. So if they take him, they're not even going to get any production out of him. But anyways, back to the third tier of guys here who could fight and possibly take Liberatore's spot here in the bullpen, because Liberatore, he actually doesn't have any options. So that would limit the possibility of that. We might even trade Liberatore because he has no options. We will have to see. But Bryce Montez de Oca is an option. He is going to be back by the time in the season. He does have an option year. We've been saying we've been giving him a chance, but we just has not gotten a chance yet. I like his profile. Big stuff. Big 3-pitch combo. I see he's high here. We want to make sure we get a scouting report on that. Jamie Melendez, we just picked him up from the White Sox in that Alan Cerda deal along the way we traded them, Joe Adell. He's another guy who could possibly start. I don't really want him to start more than I would want Bachman or Phillips to start. But Jamie Melendez here, this control is really what limits him to being a starter. Definitely not going to start with that. But he could be a very interesting, just strike him out type of big stuff guy in the bullpen with the 80 stuff potential and this big 4-pitch mix here. And really good multi-inning projectability as well. And then we have Victor Santos, who he signed to a minor league deal before last year. He started 31 games in Salt Lake last year and was quite solid. So I just feel like he earned a spot on the 40-man roster. He's got the control, decent movement, not the best profile, but he performed the AAA last year, so he's on the 40-man. He's probably if we need to make room, he's probably the first guy to get DFA'd off the 40-man, but, he's on there for now. So all that to really say, I don't think we're going to be in the market for an arm here this offseason in free agency, unless somebody really jumps out to me as man, I gotta have that guy. But the main thing we're looking at here is adding a bat who can fill either this first base role, or if it's not a first baseman, Shanuel will move there, and it'll be a DH who can fill that spot for us. And also a backup infielder who can be a shortstop is the main thing I'm looking for. And then also a catcher, like I said. There are some interesting guys here who could be, even take the starting job from Kyron Paris, honestly, or compete for it at least, or just be we have more of a split at shortstop than we have just a outright starter. First guy I'm seeing here, J.P. Crawford. Who doesn't love J.P. Crawford? 60 range, a little bit less than you would like at shortstop. Probably more of a backup with that profile, especially with how he's been performing in this sim. He expects to be a starter. Be real, JP. Be real with this type of numbers you're putting up here. Leader, though. Good leader to have. Good work ethic. Good to have on the bench. His speed is totally gone. I don't know if his speed's gone in real life, but in this, it's gone. Another guy who stands out. Nico Horner. More of a $6 million. More of a possible starter. We could move him to shortstop. He is a guy who plays very good second base defense. I feel like he could play good shortstop defense. Definitely more. We'll throw a scouting report on him as well. Definitely more of a slap hitter than anything. Not going to be great with the plate, but he is a possibility as a guy we could sign to be a shortstop for us if we go that route. He can also play all over the field as well. He's got plenty of ability to play different positions. And then we also have Ha-Seong Kim, who is another solid shortstop. Only 60 range in this, but he is a good shortstop. Much better bat than Kyron Paris has, so that would be a big upgrade there. Really good base runner, too. Has not really performed, but he does hit doubles and home runs. out of the sheer amount of games he's played, but like if you're getting decent defense from a guy who's putting up like an 80 WRC plus, I'm taking that. But the thing is, he hasn't played shortstop for them. He's been a third baseman. And even then, he's only been an okay third baseman. But I mean, this can play short, I feel like. But at $3 million, I'd be fine having him as like a play all around the infield type bench bat. So just right off the bat there, 3 interesting guys that I'm seeing who could possibly play shortstop for us as either a backup or a starter in Ha-Seong Kim, Nico Horner, and JP Crawford. Honestly, I would be very tempted to get Luis Robert because we have $43 million available. This would knock out like half of it if we get him, assuming we get him for this price and not getting a bidding war with somebody. There is compensation, which is not the biggest fan of giving up picks for guys. But I mean, he was really good in 2024, like elite, really good in 2025, more so with the glove than he was with the bat, but still very solid. Kind of slipped with the bat last year, but still around league average and a really good defender in center field. But I don't want to commit long term to him because he's fragile already. This could turn direct at any moment. He could go into spring training, get like a pulled groin, and boom, he's wrecked just like that. And suddenly you're paying a guy 10 years, $30 million, and he's wrecked. Seiya Suzuki is in free agency now, as we saw that we non-tendered him, and he's asking for way less than his ARB was, $11 million here, coming off a down season. We could be in play on bringing him back. We'll have to see about that though. There's also Taylor Ward, but he has compensation and he's way more expensive than Suzuki. I don't really think we would bring him back, but Suzuki is a comparable bat who, maybe not my ideal guy to bring back, but definitely an option. Some interesting buy low candidates, though. Maybe not buy low, but a little bit lower of a price are guys like Dylan Carlson, switch hitter. I guess he was not great with St. Louis. That's the thing with guys like this. It's like you look at their profile and you're like, he's got a good profile. He's got a good contact. He's got great gap power. He's got great eye. Power's a little bit lacking. Good defender even. We could play him in the outfield rather than DH. Serta could DH, somebody else could DH, who knows? But Dylan Carlson, I like the profile, but he just doesn't hit. If he's a good hitter, why doesn't he hit good? We got 39-year-old Paul Goldschmidt coming off the worst 2 seasons of his career, pretty much. We will not be offering Paul Goldschmidt, let me tell you that much. Nathaniel Lowe would be interesting if he was putting up better numbers than this, but that's just not worth it to me. And he also wants $11 million, which is just ridiculous for that type of production. Who was the other guy that I saw down here? There's Schwarber coming off back-to-back bad seasons. Not something I'm interested in. Oh, that's right. Ian Happ. Ian Happ seems very interesting to me. 55 power, 60 eye, 60 gap power, 50 contact, 50 BABIP. Only wants $5 million, but that's another thing with him, where you look at this profile and you're like, pretty solid profile. But then you look at his production and you're like, if he's a good hitter, why doesn't he hit good? Another thing about him is Ian Happ, leadoff guy for the Cubs in real life, or at least usually is, with these OBP numbers, really, really fell off with the OBP last year. The walk percentage dropped 2%. Strikeout percentage was around the same. His BABIP went down a little bit as well. That could be a factor in why this dropped so much. But a 0 WAR, it makes sense why it's buying low at $5 million for Ian Happ. But I'm not opposed to this. I think Ian Happ's a good player. He can play against both. He's a switch hitter. A little bit less pop against lefties, but still, you're playing against righties way more than you are lefties. He's still got a decent amount of base running. He can even play some outfield for us. He could be a first baseman as well. Probably a better first baseman than Shanuel is if he gets more time there. Or he's a 60 potential first baseman. Shanuel is he's a better first baseman than Shanuel. So that is definitely an option. Honestly, I'm leaning Ian Happ here. We're gonna give him a little bit of possibly like a second-year option thing, or we drop this maybe down to 4.5. Give him a little second-year option. Ask for his response on that. What do you think? Boom. Beautiful. Ian Happ. Buy low. Prove everybody that you still got it. Come here. Rake for us. Help us win. And now that I'm looking at JP Crawford's ZR from last year, this guy is not somebody who can play shortstop for you. I love JP Crawford in real life. OOTP JP Crawford has never been good for me. People who remember the Mariners series remember that I got rid of him because he couldn't play shortstop. It's over. It's over, folks. JP Crawford, love the bat, but the defense is not what we need here for a backup shortstop. Nico Hoerner, we could bring another Cub, like I said. He wants a little bit more than I would be willing to pay for a guy who's going to be probably a backup, maybe a starter over Kyron Paris. The thing is, Kyron Paris does want to be a starter, and he should be a starter. This bat is probably better than Nico Hoerner's bat, especially since the contact is more in the BABIP than it is in the Avoid K, and it's the other way around for Nico Hoerner, and the game engine does seem to prefer guys who have the better BABIP than the Avoid K, and he has the really good eye to go along with it, where Nico Hoerner does not have that good eye. If we go and take a look, yeah, does not have the good eye. Also has worse gap power, way more of just a slap spray hitter than Kyron Paris is. Can we go back to the free agents, please? There we go. And then Ha-Seong Kim, I would sure love to see if he's okay. So he was a positive, really good ZR in 2024, fell off in 2025, and then went to the Cubs last year. And then I didn't realize he was a Cub too. We're just getting all the Cubs. And then he was a really solid second and third baseman for them, but never played short, really. He played 10 games there, and he was not negative, but we don't really have the sample size of Ha-Seong Kim here now that he's in his 30s of playing shortstop. But I do like him the most out of the others, simply because JP Crawford cannot play short. We know this for a fact. And Nico Hoerner is just not a good enough bat to warrant this type of money, I don't think. I think we're going to go Ha-Seong Kim here, because Tim Anderson here has not been good. We might give him like a minor league deal and see how that goes. Let's just do that. Let's offer Tim Anderson a minor league deal, see how that goes. But we're also going to still offer Ha-Seong Kim to be like an actual option for us. And we're going to give him the same deal that we gave Hap, essentially. We'll drop this down to like $3 million for each year and give you a second-year option. Boom. You love it. $3 million, 2 years or $3 million per for each year. Second year's a team option. Ha-Seong Kim, come play for us, please. I'm also seeing that Jeremy Pena was out there, but he's also a guy whose infield range has dropped a bit. He has been a positive WAR player. He's been steadily decreasing at the plate, though. And he also was not good defensively last year, so not an option. As much as I love guys named Jeremy, obviously, and the fact that he's a cold weather college guy, which if you didn't know that Jeremy Pena went to the University of Maine, there's your fun fact. Absolutely bonkers that he came out of University of Maine, but not an option for us here. And then, like I said, we're probably not going to be signing any arms, especially since even the relievers are wanting a pretty hefty chunk of change here. Like Devin Williams is the best overall pitcher. Obviously, an insane reliever. Has not been putting up the biggest numbers. He's kind of been like a mercenary guy the past couple of seasons, playing for different teams. But also doesn't seem like they've been using him as like a stopper, as I probably would. No compensation, which I do like. But I'm not trying to pay a reliever $22 million. That's just not happening. And then Max Fried would be interesting if we needed a starter. But compensation, torn rotator cuff, gonna miss like most of the season, if not all of it. Fragile injury proneness. That's a disaster waiting to happen. And then our guy Tristan McKenzie's out here as well. He served us well, but I don't think we're gonna throw an offer on him. He's probably gonna want a similar contract. Yeah. I mean, we could afford it. But I just don't think we need to pay a guy like that to be our 5th starter. I mean, technically, we'd probably drop Canning down to be our 5th starter, probably. But I'm solid with these 1 through 4, and then giving a shot to Birdsong or another group of guys, depending on who we go with. But 1 through 4 here is solid. I like that. I think we have plenty of depth at pitcher right now. I don't think we need to go out and sign Tristan McKenzie to like a ridiculous deal like that just to be like a 5th option for us. You gotta be kidding me! This is what I get for drafting a guy with low work ethic and intelligence. 1st round, 8th overall last year at LSU, Chase Shores. You know, he was good in A-ball his first year, struggled in high A a little bit last year. We were planning on moving up to Double A this year. You know, stuff was developing pretty decently. We thought we had somebody here, and he's just going to miss the whole year with post-concussion syndrome because he's out here getting on motorcycles. Come on. Low intelligence. What are we doing? And the Braves are just stocking up over here. I guess they did lose Max Fried, but Tristan McKenzie is now an Atlanta Brave. We took a bit of a different strategy in international amateurs this year. Usually I try to spend all my money around in different places. We try to look for guys that have high work ethic, intelligence, and try to get like 3-4 guys in international amateurs. This year, I had my budget set to the max for the available, so we just went all out on this guy. We got in a bidding war with a couple teams. We end up winning, signing this guy for the max budget, so we can't sign anybody else. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this guy's first name, or Desalane? It's probably Desalane. Desalane Faruqi, the Joker. This South African right-handed hitter looks like he could be an absolute monster if any of this develops. 80 grade power potential, fly ball hitter, high work ethic, low financial ambition. This guy could be an absolute stud. Obviously, extremely far away from the big leagues, but we are going to keep an eye on him and see how his development goes. Very interesting development update here is Brandon Woodruff has now bumped up to a 70 overall. Our scout just says he improved his current and potential stuff and his overall rating. Love to see that. And our guy Ben Joyce here got a little bit of a tick up as well. Our scout says that he improved his current stuff rating and his potential movement has improved from 55 to 60. So he's able to bump that up a little bit more if he's able to. Love to see it. We're looking for Ben Joyce to really break out this season as we are relying on him to be one of our like top 3 dudes in the bullpen. Alrighty, we are here at the start of spring training, and our player development lab guys are done. Unfortunately, Nelson Rada has yet again had no improvement to his gap power that we tried to improve, but he does have the 60 contact, the 60 eye. I still believe in Nelson Rada. It's not like me believing in Nelson Rada was dependent on if he gets this gap power, but he still looks like a solid bat. We did, however, have a success with Walbert Urena. He did improve his control. It is now up to 40 out of 45. I'm not sure what it was before. I believe there is now an option where it tells you what it changed. I haven't gone in and looked at that yet, but okay, move the Shanuel. Urania improved his control. That's good to see. Nolan Shanuel did indeed improve his eye, apparently. That's at least what they're saying. It doesn't look like it's improved, but he did have success to where he already appears to and no room for further... What? We improved his eye, and it says he has no room for further improvement. That is just false, sir. Okay. But anyways, Kyron Paris, outstanding improvement on his plate discipline. He now has a 75 eye. Very good to see there. That is going to help him out for sure with bumping up this walk percentage. Love to see that. Hopefully we get some good OBP numbers from Kyron Paris at shortstop this year. Ronnie Mauricio, unfortunately, had no improvement for his gap power, so he's still looking the same way. And then Randy DeJesus, unfortunately, also did not improve his home run power, but it's still looking quite solid. He's already bumped it from 60. It was 55. Now I believe it was 50, honestly. Now it's 60 out of 65. He's looking like quite a possible power bat we've got to throw in the mix here and some corner outfield possibilities. And just a quick look around to see where all the top players from free agency signed. Luis Robert. Who else signs a guy like this with a fragile injury proneness? It's the Dodgers. Money doesn't matter to them, so they bring in Luis Robert Jr. Max Fried is still out there. Nobody has signed Max Fried to a deal. Very interesting. Very interesting. I am honestly tempted to throw like a 2-year offer on him because he's going to miss this whole season. I'm honestly tempted to do something like 2 years and just like literally just like lowball the hell out of him. Team option. We'll even pump this down a little bit. Is he even remotely interested in this? No. Okay, well, maybe that's why you're not signing there, Maximus. And then Devin Williams, of course, signs with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They get everybody because money does not matter. Alrighty, we are here on opening day 2027. We're still a couple days away from, or like a bit away from the actual first game here, but it is the marker for opening day. So we have made our opening day roster here, the 26-man roster. And the big news is that we are going to be missing Brandon Woodruff for the entire season. Unfortunately, Mr. Brandon Woodruff got hurt partially towards UCL, opted for Tommy John. It did not even give me a choice. Not that that's a thing in this game, but it was just like, boom, he's out for 8 months. So Brandon Woodruff is not going to be pitching for us this season. Very unfortunate because he was our best pitcher last year and even got Cy Young votes. Not great. And we will show you what the arms are looking like without Woodruff right now. 1 to 5, it's Dylan Cease, Reed Detmers, Griffin Canning. We went out and signed Eric Fetty to a 1-year deal because he was just out there in free agency and was pretty solid for St. Louis last year. So we figured we would sign a proven starter to be a member of our rotation here to help us out while Woodruff is no longer with us for this season. And then Hayden Birdsong is going to be the 5th guy, limited to 18 batters faced, which is 2 times through the order. So Hayden Birdsong is the 5th. Fetty is the 4th, and then the 1, 2, 3 is still Cease, Detmers, and Canning. While in the bullpen, we're rocking the double stopper of Sam Bachman, who returns from last year. Absolute stud. We could put him in the rotation. We did rock him in the rotation for a bit in spring. As you can see here, his starts went much worse than his bullpen appearances. So I feel like we're just going to have him lock down that stopper role instead as the 55 grade with this insane stuff movement double pitch combo he's got here. And then Cade Cavalli, former top prospect with the Washington Nationals, was with Arizona last year in the bullpen, putting up pretty good numbers. And I just figured we signed him to a really cheap deal. And he's going to be a stopper for us with this really good movement, home run suppression, insane 4-pitch mix, some solid stuff too, has the ability to go multiple innings as well as a former starter. He's rocking the double stopper with Bachman, both high leverage secondary roles. Ben Joyce is our middle relief, used more often, secondary role of high leverage. We're just trusting that he is going to be lights out for us this year. The ground ball fly ball tendency, I believe this was extreme fly ball. Now it's just fly ball. I don't think I've ever actually seen that before where a guy's tendency changes. But his did, and that is what he's rocking with now. So Ben Joyce is the middle relief, used more often, high leverage. Jose Soriano, still the same guy, just his overall went down to 45. It's fine. His overall's been 45 before. We still trust Soriano. We're going to rock with him in the middle relief. Connor Phillips, his went down to 45. Unfortunately, his stuff went down to 65. It was 70. Still, though, solid profile. We expect him to be a key player for us as we have both Soriano and Phillips as secondary stoppers because they both have a decent amount of stamina. Soriano 35, Phillips 45 respectively. So they're the secondary stoppers if these guys are tired. And then Jose Lopez, who we signed in the offseason to a cheap $1 million deal as a lefty. I mean, look at this profile. Insane stuff, insane home run suppression. insane fastball slider combo, really good changeup with a third pitch as well. So he's the middle relief with a specialist as the lefty, and then KY Teng is the long relief emergency starting pitcher guy, extreme ground ball. He was in our pen last year for 19 and a half games, was quite solid. He's going to rock back in that role once again, hopefully limiting the walks, but, we'd like to see a little bit less walks than this guy, but still, he is starting the year as our long man. We do have some options down in the minor leagues, but this is what you're rocking with here on opening day in the pitching. And as far as the hitters go, the lineups, Jarren Duran, Trout, Shanuel, Ohapi, Alan Cerda, Zach Neto, Ian Happ, Jordan Westburg, and Kyron Paris. And then against lefties, it's Neto, Trout, Shanuel, Ohapi, Cerda, Kim, Happ, Westburg, and Paris. You can see here against righties, we got Mauricio as the backup first baseman, Kim as the backup infielder. I can't speak. Nelson Rada as the backup corner outfielder. Calabrese is the backup center fielder for that 70 range. And then Ha-Seong Kim is the backup DH. And we're doing the thing where we're trying to keep Trout healthy. He's still good enough to play center field. The situation is we could start Calabrese in center, but we don't want to because that would just make a situation where like one of like Happ or Duran probably would have to sit on the bench. And we just don't want to do that. So instead, we're doing the back to the every seventh day thing, and we're scheming it up where every seventh day Calabrese slots into center field. That means that Trout slots into DH, and that means that Shanuel slots in to first base, and then Happ will just get an off day. So that's how it's sorting out against righties. Here are the pinch hitters and pinch runners. We got a decent bench going. And then against lefties, it is a situation where Kim is third, Westburg slides to first, Happ becomes a left fielder. Duran, who cannot hit against lefties, is now a bench piece. And then Shanuel is going to be the DH still against lefties because he's still solid against lefties. Change this back to splits. If we take a look at his splits, I guess we can't take a look at his splits last year, but he's been a solid guy against lefties. He's not a slouch against left-handed pitching. And Nolan Shanuel is just that level of hitter where you want him in the lineup and you don't platoon a guy like that. So Shanuel still in there. And then instead of every seventh day, we have Calabrese in there because he is a lefty hitter, a little bit worse against lefties. It's every 10th day when a left-hander is on the hill. So Trout still gets a break there, and we still have the whole thing set up, but it is going to be only every 10 days against lefties. And then also, I don't think I want Rada playing every 5th day against lefties, maybe like once a week. Yeah, that sounds right. And then also against righties, Ha-Seong Kim is the defensive sub at third base because he's a great third baseman. Westburg can't hold his own there. He was good there last season with a 2 ZR. But, Kim is obviously an upgrade at third base. And then against lefties, Jarren Duran, even though he is, against lefties, we have him as the defensive sub in left field because he is a great left fielder, 70 grade left fielder, 65 range. He was solid there last year with a 4.2 ZR. And Ian Happ is just not a great left fielder anymore. He's fine. He can hold his own. I think he was like league average there last year. Not league average, but he was like even. He was negative. So he was negative too. So we're just having a option who can play left field defensively, Duran or Happ in the later innings. But that is the team here starting off 2025 or 2027 rather. We are ready to get things started here on the season.